I just want to share all of the paintings behind here are my paintings, and I mostly paint important issues of our time. And my guest now is Navida Butler. And first of all, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
And you know, I have a little problem with your name, you know, saying
That's okay.
it, Navida Butler, forgive me. But I want to say, you in a way have been a hero of mine, because I have known about you for about 20 years. I had a foster son, Jimmy Landrum, and he was always talking about his friend and his mother and grandmother. And now you tell us what your organization that you've helped run for many years, what the name of it is?
Ecumenical Hunger Program, and it's a nonprofit founded in 1975 to help families with food, clothing, and household essentials.
Okay, so how many years have you been working in that area?
I've been involved since 1975 when it was founded. I became the executive director in 1981 up until 2008 when I retired, and I've been back since 2013 working still there helping families in need.
Okay, so you retired, but you're such a young lady, and it's quite amazing. Now, what are the three most important services the Ecumenical Hunger Program provides the community?
I think the three most important services that's provided is what we started out doing, providing emergency food to families. But we found in providing emergency food, there's so many other things that families need. So now, along with emergency food, we provide household essentials, lots of time listening, that's so important, and furniture. We do furniture, dishes. If you can use it at home, I always say we can use it there.
And what's the third most important thing you do?
The third most important thing, I think, is finding out the needs of the community and trying to provide that service with respect and dignity, helping our neighbors move from hunger to hope.
Okay, I'd like to go back. Am I correct? The very first thing you said about the services you provide, emergency services.
Yes.
Emergency services consist of what?
Mainly emergency food, and we started out figuring out we would do emergency services, and we realized some of it is ongoing. You're working with a lot of families that are disabled, mentally ill, no income whatsoever. So it had to be, instead of just saying emergency services, we provide the services. And mainly emergency food, sometimes blankets, a pair of shoes. People come in the wintertime sometimes, no shoes, not even a blanket to sleep under if they're homeless. And so that's why we say we're trying to move them from hunger to hope.
Okay, so I just want to say I really believe it's important to have emergency food, and on an ongoing basis. You know, there are a lot of good people out there, but also, and the handicapped folks and the people who lose their jobs and whatever. So it is really, truly wonderful that there is a place in this community you can go to get emergency food, and you give it away. Is that correct?
Yes. We don't sell anything, and we're so thankful to have so many wonderful people out there and volunteers. You know, we're nonprofit, no government funding, and all of our services is provided free of charge. Also, you find out if you work with families and listen, you find out other needs, and that's sort of how I met your adoptive son.
Okay, good. The second major area that you mentioned, it's providing essential other kinds of services, like some household goods, furniture, and
we give out quite a bit of furniture now. And see, we really started out, I don't know if you know the history of EHP. We started out in a closet with just food that we gleaned from garbage cans and dumpsters. Now we're part of the food bank, and in doing that, is when we realized we needed clothing, we needed beds for people to sleep on. It's not unusual to have someone come in and say, I've been sleeping on the floor for months. And the latest thing is that I've been doing is families coming in that have just, thank God, they found housing. And so sometimes they've been homeless. Some of them have been homeless for years and they found housing. And so you're trying to help provide the total household full of furniture. I have one family had 8 children, and we were able to come up with furniture, living room furniture, sofa, and even a TV for the kids.
It's wonderful what you do. So, point number 1, emergency food, right?
Yes.
Number 2, some other services such as providing furniture, plates and other things to
Forks
help
and spoons.
to help people who have an apartment or a home, whatever, to at least have a bed, etc.
Yes, and you know the other thing that's important in doing this kind of work is knowing what resources are available. We can't do it all by ourselves, and so you make a lot of referrals. I made several referrals today to Facebook. Keeping your ears open, hearing what's available, who's hiring, and trying to get our families to become self-supported. You know, move them if they're able to go to school. Even sometimes helping, we've got a lot of kids going back to college, and so helping with a microwave if there's got a chance to stay on a dorm. Sometimes a mattress, the blankets or sleeping bags, if they've gotten in college, helping them to stay there. Or if they get a job, helping them with work clothes. We have a clothes closet that help with work clothes, school clothes, school shoes, and everything.
Oh, that's truly wonderful. You have another third area of services that you provide?
Well, I really like the idea of we have a program for kids, you know, trying to help them to get into schools, sending them off to job interviews. How do you do job interviews? There's also a women's support group. Anything that will enable our families moving from hunger to hope. Our neighbors, these are our neighbors. And East Palo Alto is a very caring community. They help one another. And so we want to be a part of that and help them succeed and help the families get kids into college, you know, and do make a better life for them, as the families say, than the life that they had themselves.
So the schools are about to open again.
Yes.
And so this is a special time for your organization to go and maybe help find the books, the pencils.
Backpacks.
The backpack, yeah, that's crucial. And
school supplies, backpacks, and they're very expensive. The calls are coming in. Do you have any backpacks? Do you have any back to school clothes? We're part of a program called My New Red Shoes, but it can only help so many people.
Yeah.
And so we're signing people up. They're signed up for that already, but people are still signing up for backpacks and back to school clothes.
If somebody wants to avail themselves of your services, or if somebody wants to give you a donation, where do they go?
They can either look online at ehpcares.org, or I love to have people come over, visit the office, and see what we're doing. And we're located at 2411 Pulgas Avenue, East Palo Alto. The zip is 94303. Come over and see how your dollars are being spent. You know, come and volunteer.
Yeah, forgive me if I don't do that, but I think it has something to do with I have a heavy schedule. But when you talked about interviewing, helping people interview, if you invite me someday when you have a group of people who are going out on interviews,
yes,
I would come over and I would like to share some of my knowledge and wisdom on how to approach an interview.
Yes,
together.
We would love to have you do that. We would really love to have you do that. You know, not only do we help young people find, you know, jobs and everything, we also have a program called Ask the Lawyer that's once a month.
Oh,
And people
really?
can come in, we have a lawyer that donates his time, and people can come in with problems and ask that lawyer and get referrals at no cost.
Oh, so you could, you met Kirsten
I was,
Keith.
I heard what she said. She
And
shouldn't have said it in front of me.
yeah, so you're writing or getting, that's
Yes.
wonderful. I mean, it's a knack of identifying resources. And there are a lot of people who have resources, intellectual resources, experience,
Yes.
not just money, who like to help.
Yes, and we love matching donations with people that are in need. I've had families, I had a family once that had a child at Stanford with cancer, no car, and we were trying to find a car to get them to work and to Stanford, and we were able to locate an automobile. We take those too. We are nonprofit, tax exempt. Matching clothes, larger size clothes and shoes. Some of our young people now, in even grade school, size 13, 14 shoes. They're hard to get. Larger clothes, 3X and everything, harder to get. So we love trying to find those resources.
Yeah. Now, earlier you mentioned you do a lot of referrals.
Yes.
So somebody comes in and they have needs, and you can't fill them all, but you have contacts, knowledge of where other help can be found. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, I've thought about that problem, the homeless,
Yes.
Where do they go to get help? And, help is not necessarily one place, but it's a place where they can be referred. And I think that's truly wonderful, what you do.
We realized very early with Ecumenical Hunger that having a one-stop umbrella, our program provides a lot of services right there at that one stop, but there is still a real need to make those referrals for housing assistance. I made several today trying to find assistance with rent. I have a woman that have everything but $800 trying to find that, and there are some agencies that will help, and so we make those referrals out there.
Okay, so when I look at you and I listen to you, I see a person with a big heart, and not just a big heart. You got your act together intellectually, and you're obviously using your talents and energy to really make a difference, help people in the community. I'd like to know what happened, if anything, when you were a little girl, or more than a little girl, that motivated you to help other people.
Well, we were very poor coming up. I'm from the South. My dad was a sharecropper, and then moving, he gave us all away. And I got married into some of the same thing, my first marriage, and I ended up running away from home and coming to California with 3 kids. I was homeless, and I've been where a lot of those families are that come in there, and I can understand their plight. I've worked in a factory, I've done day work, I've worked in an office, but I have a sense for all of it and really respect the families that come in. And if you want to get respect, you have to give it to them. And I love meeting families where they are and not looking down on them. The other thing too, you don't realize working with families how much you get from them, and you learn from them. And so I've been blessed to be in a position to work where I work.
Now, you made a remark before we went on the camera. I think it was sort of a compliment that I had and my wife had raised a foster son who was on the street for, I don't know, 10, 12 years. And you said, well, it was so nice of you to do that.
Yes.
But I got a lot out of it.
Yes.
I enjoyed the youngster. I enjoyed being part of his life as he grew up. So I got a lot out of that relationship.
And see, I think that's what sometimes people don't understand. Working with families that are in need, seeing their struggles, seeing their progress, and what it does, the enrichment it brings to your life, and playing a part of that progress. I've been around long enough to see some of the kids grow up, have gone to college. We got families where the kids have gone to college and have gone to Stanford even. That's a blessing.
One more thing, if somebody wants to send you a donation, where do they send it to?
They send it to the Ecumenical Hunger Program, 2411 Pulgas Avenue, East Palo Alto.
All right. My guest has been Nevida Butler. And I want to say it's been an honor to spend time with you. And I want to thank you for coming on this show. Hi, I'm Michael Killen, and I live down the road from Facebook in Menlo Park, California. And the other day, I was having coffee with a friend of mine, Bill Widmer. He's the former mayor of another town, Atherton. And I said to Bill, who in my town of Menlo Park is really good at working for our community? And he said a woman named Kirsten Keith. She's a councilwoman and former mayor of Menlo Park. He says, I've watched her. She really puts the time in, the energy in to try to help the city of Menlo Park. I have invited Kirsten Keith to be my guest on the show. I'm going to ask her a few questions.
Well, hello, Michael. It's
Great.
great to be here. Thank you
Good.
for having me.
Yes, and I was just wondering, what have you done for Menlo Park?
Wow. Well, I've been on the city council now since 2010 and was reelected in 2014. And the most crucial things that we as a community are working with right now are our housing issues, housing affordability, transportation, and environmental issues. So while I've been on council, we have built hundreds of new apartment units. And we've also built housing for our veterans at the VA site on Willow Road. And we are working forward on a transportation master plan for the city of Menlo Park to help all of us get around Menlo Park. And we are also working on many environmental issues, which I know you are a leader on, and so it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Okay, so I heard three things: housing, transportation, and the environment.
Yes.
Those are certainly important issues. And when I get in my car and go out, I see buildings going up everywhere. And is it true that Facebook may double the population of Menlo Park, or is that an exaggeration?
I mean, I think as Facebook is growing in Menlo Park, there is a gradual growth that is occurring. There's something called Facebook Village for Willow Road, which would include 4,500 housing units and more square footage of office as well. So there would be more office people here, and then of course more housing. And the idea is if we can build more housing at the site where Facebook is, that people wouldn't have to drive so far to get to work if it were people who were working at Facebook, for example.
So, and that has a great environmental impact. It will reduce the amount of cars on the road and the amount of gasoline being burned, which is,
Yes.
and reducing the amount of gasoline being used is certainly one of the goals of Governor Brown's climate plan.
Yes. The other thing we did with the buildings, that we did the general plan update for that area, and we said that they have to be net neutral on carbon emissions, so 0 carbon emissions for the buildings. And that is really important because as we see climate change and greenhouse gas emissions, what we're trying to do in Menlo Park is reduce them and to be a leader in the area.
Okay. So on the housing, you know, we have a lot of people who cannot afford to live in the Palo Alto, Menlo Park, Atherton area. Have you worked at getting the contractors, the builders, et cetera, to make houses for some low-cost housing?
Yes, I'm really glad you asked about that, actually. So we work with many of our affordable housing advocates in the area, and we worked with Mid-Peninsula Housing, for example, and rebuilt with more units, senior housing on Willow Road. It looks beautiful, and people actually look at that housing and think that it's housing for Facebook employees, but it's actually affordable senior housing. And all the seniors who were there were able to come back in and have first dibs at the apartment units that were available.
So you take it serious to get housing for people who live far away that have to work here and who cannot afford some of the expensive homes we have in our town.
Yes, absolutely. We also worked with HIP Housing, Human Investment Project, to they take buildings that are already in existence. So there was a apartment unit on Willow Road, and they were able, with the help of the city and some money from the county as well, to purchase the apartment buildings to keep them affordable. And with help from Facebook, we also put in a computer room and redid all the wiring and new windows and made these permanently affordable housing units.
All right, what about transportation? I heard you say at the beginning of this interview that you've worked hard to help address some of the challenges associated with transportation. Like what have you done?
Well, one of the biggest things that will be a game changer for this area is the Dumbarton Rail Corridor. So there was a advisory group that was put together that was for all the cities along the Dumbarton Rail line, which includes Menlo Park, Redwood City, Union City, and we had an advisory group. And actually, the advisory group was told they weren't needed anymore. But we really knew that we do need Dumbarton Rail because we need to get people out of their cars and to be able to use Caltrain and get on other public transit. So we've been pushing for that, and it's coming forward now.
Does Dumbarton Rail mean going across the bay? That
Yes.
bridge? You're going to get that bridge working again?
That is the goal. And so Facebook actually put in $1.2 million for an environmental impact report to look at what our options are, and that has been completed. And Samtrans recently voted that, yes, we need to proceed with this.
What is the termination point on the other side of the bay? Union City?
Union City. Fremont, Union City is where this would go to,
So,
but Union City.
so that means the people who live on the other side, the East Bay, you know, right on the other side of the bay, if they want to work in Silicon Valley, they can take that train and at least get to part of Silicon Valley.
Right.
And then would this be also, I know some people who live in Sacramento and they commute all the way. So they could come down into Union City, Fremont, leave the car, get on, and at least get part of their trip.
Right.
Is that?
Right. And one thing we can do in the short term is put a zipper lane on the Dumbarton Bridge. So we can get, just similar to what they do on the Golden Gate Bridge. That should be a
sure.
short-term project that we move forward with for the Dumbarton Bridge.
For the Dunbar, so that's a different, so we have
Different.
two bridges. I now understand. What is the termination point of that rail on the western side of the bay?
Yeah, that's Redwood City, the Caltrain station. So the idea is you would be able to connect all the way to the Caltrain station and then get Caltrain up and down the peninsula, or Uber to your last mile, or whatever it is you
The
need to do.
Caltrans station, where?
In Redwood City.
Oh, in
Yes.
Redwood City.
Yes.
So that's a little north of us.
Right.
We don't have to worry about Willow being taken over by a
We're
train.
not going to make Willow an overpass. Correct. I want to be really clear about that.
Okay.
Yes.
You also said you had a great interest and still have a great interest in the environment.
Yes, absolutely.
And I heard you say that some of the new housing will be net carbon zero. Is that something you pushed for?
Yes, we did in our general plan update. So the new, which is a huge development for the city, and it's something that other cities can look at to emulate to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So commercial buildings and residential in our general plan update, which is the area of our landmass north of 101, that's all in place in code now. And now the goal is to take that code, those building codes, and apply them to the rest of the city. So that will be our next step.
Okay, that's interesting. And you know, you're right next door to Palo Alto. And Palo Alto, I don't know how they are right now, but a few years ago when I had more to do with the management over there, they wanted to be the leader in everything, including sustainability, reducing greenhouse gases. Do you compete with them?
We absolutely do. And I want to give a big shout out to Menlo Spark and to Chris DeCarty and Mitch Slomiak and our environmental quality commissioners who really care about these issues and created Menlo Spark to help Menlo Park become a leader in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And we're a leader now.
That's good. I like living in a town where we're a leader in that particular topic.
Me too.
So I just have one other important question.
Yes.
Okay, there's an election coming up.
Yes.
If you get elected, what are you going to do for us? Are you going to do anything special?
I have a strong track record now that anybody can look at. where I care about the environment, sustainability issues, making sure we have safe routes to school, that we're increasing our bike and ped improvements all across the city with our Oak Grove Bicycle Boulevard project, and hopefully we'll get some more bicycle boulevards going in Menlo Park. I will also continue to push for affordable housing, and I'm working on looking at the VA site on Willow Road because we have some opportunities to create more affordable housing for our veterans, which is very important to me. And we have the land mass to do it, and I think we have the willpower of some very important developers to make this happen. And then also really pushing forward on this Dumbarton Rail Corridor, making sure that this is a reality, starting from Menlo Park to Redwood City, and then we continue to build across the bay and make the rest of that a reality.
I like everything you said. My wife and I are going to vote for you. Again, I have one last question, and we only have about a minute left.
Yes.
Now, I notice you're a lawyer, and I see the kind of work you do, and you're helping people get involved with the criminal justice system. Sometimes, you know, it's their own fault or whatever, and you defend them.
That's right.
You're defending the people who have a rough time for the most part in life.
People accused of a crime.
Whatever happened in your life that you wanted to give services to this city, and at the same time you have a profession where again you're providing services to people who really need help?
Primarily, when I was 12, my family moved to Chile, and I was in school there. My stepfather was working as an engineer with mining. And when we moved to Chile, it was a time when General Augusto Pinochet was in power. And my parents took me all across Chile, but we talked about politics, we talked about freedom of speech, suppression of freedom of speech, and all those important issues became very much a part of who I am, and making sure that you always have a voice to stand up to people trying to take advantage of others, which was what was happening in Chile. It was a very sad situation. So I joined Amnesty International, and I was able to go and work with Amnesty International during undergraduate school.
All right. I want to say you have been a wonderful guest. I'm glad I got to know you better.
Thank you.
And good luck with the election, but you got my vote, my wife's vote.
And I look forward to coming and seeing some more paintings.
All right, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
So, that was Kirsten Keith, councilwoman who's again running for election, and I'm impressed with her.